everyone, Kathy here from Dirty Booty Soaps, and today we're going to do one of the soaps from Brambleberry's new book, Milk Soaps. I'm going to just get situated here so I can sit for a minute. Just to talk a little bit about my prep for the soap. They do use a 12, what does she use here? It's on her site, the 12 bar silicone mold. I don't have that mold, but what I'm going to use is my oval molds right here. So I'm going to use 2 of those. That's 12 cavities. I'm not sure if it's the same amount in each as these. So I do have my flower molds off to the side. If I have extra, I'll put it in there. Let's see, what else? Oh, when you read the recipe, now I'm going to give you the recipe on this because she herself has shared it on their Facebook page. But when you read the recipe, they say step 1 is measuring out and heating the olive oil to 105. That's step 1. Well, then you get to step 3 where you're mixing, or sorry, step 2, where you're mixing your lye. And then it says when they've both cooled down to 105. Well, if you're heating the oil to 105 in step 1, by the time your lye water cools down to 105, your oil is going to be a lot cooler than that because it's going to cool down. So that's where I see one little thing they could have changed that and done the lye water first in their recipe and said, you know, maybe when it's almost 105, go heat your olive oil. So that's what I would do. I would do my lye water first, let it cool down, and then go heat your olive oil until it's around the 105 mark. I heated mine a little too much. Right now it's in the fridge cooling down just a little bit more before I get started. Because by the time I got back down here, my lye water had cooled down even more. So right now we're at 111. So we've got a little ways to wait, but that's okay because we'll just talk some more. Another thing is this recipe calls for buttermilk, but only 6.6 ounces. So anyway, what I did, and she says homemade is best. So I looked up how to make your own buttermilk. What I did was I took this recipe, I think it was off Tasty, which said to either use vinegar or lemon juice. And it's 4.5 teaspoons. I poured that into my like 2-cup Pyrex measuring cup. So I used 4.5 teaspoons. I used fresh squeezed lemon juice in mine. You could probably use the jar of lemon juice if you want, but I had a lemon that I had already cut open. So I microwaved it for a little bit because it was in the fridge, and just to get the juices flowing. And I squeezed out a bunch of lemon juice and I measured the 4.5 teaspoons into my Pyrex container. And then it said to fill it the rest of the way up with milk to the 1-cup mark. So I used, we drank 2.5% milk. You could use whole milk. That would probably be really good, but this was what I had, so that's what I used. I wasn't about to go buy a whole big container of whole milk for this. And I wasn't about to go buy buttermilk for just a small amount. We don't have like the little containers of buttermilk. It's in a big container. So I made my own. So anyway, this goes in after you reach light trace. I just kept it in a mason jar overnight, and you can tell it's thicker. You can see it's curdled around the sides because I've been shaking it. But anyway, that's how I made my buttermilk. So like I said, 4.5 teaspoons of lemon juice is what I used, and then filled my Pyrex the rest of the way up after that to the 1-cup mark with my milk. So that's and then you let it sit. Sorry, you let it sit for like 15 minutes, it says, after you stir it together, and it'll start to curdle. And then it says to use it or just store it covered until you're ready to use it. So that's what I did. I stored it covered overnight, and now I'm going to be ready to use it when it becomes necessary. The only thing I did buy extra is the madder root. I didn't have any. It calls for madder root powder. I bought mine from Voyager, and I went overkill, and I bought a like an 8-ounce bag of it. So I have plenty to use for coloring soaps. Now it looks really dark. You mix it with 1 tablespoon of this with 3 tablespoons of the olive oil. So it looks really dark. Hold on, let me get to my recipe. It looks really dark in the olive oil here. It also looks really dark in her picture when you pour it. But she does say, we're here at the end. Let the soap sit. Da, 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 da. It says the madder root will lighten as the soap cures. So if you look at their picture here for this soap, it looks like a very pretty pink color. So I'm hoping these will indeed lighten to a really pretty pink color as they cure. So they're not going to look like that right out of the mold. And this is all olive oil too, by the way. There goes my dogs. So she suggests waiting 48 hours before popping them out of the mold. Excuse me, just a second. I have to go yell at dogs. All right, so my neighbor across the street, they're having a yard sale. It's 6:30 in the morning, and he's out there getting ready for the yard sale. So that's upsetting my dogs. So they probably just woke up my husband as well. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I'm hoping these turn really light. It does call for sodium lactate, and I think that's why, to harden these bars quicker. So I may have to wait longer than 48 hours before unmolding these because I wasn't about to go buy sodium lactate. It's not something I keep on hand. I don't use it, and I wasn't about to buy it. So I'll keep them in the mold. And when we come back to do the unmolding part of the video, I'll let you know how long they sat in the mold for. So I think I've touched on just about everything. Oh, she bevels these bars. They're square. She bevels them. It's a really nice look. But since I'm using the ovals, they won't need beveling. So you do what you want. I was almost thinking about doing a tall, skinny soap with these, but I thought we'll keep it simple and do the oval bars. They'll look really pretty, hopefully. I do notice this lye has bits in it, and I've been stirring constantly, but it formed the little lye crystals or whatever that are floating around. So I do have my strainer on hand. I will strain my lye as I pour it into my olive oil. So I'll give you the recipe. Like I said, she gave the recipe on the Facebook page. I was kind of like, I made a comment. I wasn't trying to be snippy, but I was like, here she's giving out 2 or 3 recipes from her book. I said, wow, I should have just waited instead of buying the book if you're going to give them away. But she said they're just releasing a few recipes. So anyway, since this was one that she released, I will give you the recipe. So she calls for the 12-bar silicone mold. Like I said, use whatever. A cutting board for moving the mold, which is, I always, when I'm using a silicone mold, if I'm going to think I'm going to move him around, I always put him on some kind of board. Because otherwise, you're like this. With your soaps, going to go everywhere because they're not the firmest of molds, right? So have a board under your mold. 2 larger bowls. So I do have to dig out another bowl because you're going to mix the madder root powder, this, into like half your batch. So you have to have 2 bowls, and I'll dig mine out. Let's see. And a soap beveler, which is optional. So you're using 40 ounces or 1,134 grams, of pure olive oil. And 6.6 ounces of distilled water, that's 187 grams. 5.2 ounces of lye, that's at 3% superfat. 1 tablespoon, she says, of sodium lactate. And that's what I'm not using, is sodium lactate. So like I said, mine may sit in the mold a little bit longer. Essential oil blend. She has 1.9 ounces or 54 grams of lavender, 40-42, and 1 ounce or 28 grams of peppermint second distilled. So I have my lavender oil and my peppermint oil. It's maybe not exactly the types that she called for, but that's what I'm using, is what I've got on hand. So I use those measurements. Colorant is 1 tablespoon of madder root powder dispersed into 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And I noticed on the Facebook, when you click on instructions to do this soap, they leave that step out of mixing it with the olive oil first. She just says to add the madder root powder into the soap mixture. So anyway, in the book, it does say to disperse it into olive oil. And then you need your 6.6 ounces or 187 grams of buttermilk. And let's see. It does say here, homemade buttermilk is best. If you buy it, use a brand with as few additives as possible. So, with that being said, I'm going to go check my temperature of my olive oil. And we're at 105 here. So I'll go get my olive oil and see what we're at there, and then we'll get started, okay? So let me put you on pause again. Okay, so we're ready to get started. I went and checked. My olive oil was 105. My lye water is 105. So we're going to get started and follow her steps exactly. And we'll see. I may take my time here because I don't have my reading glasses. So anyway, it says, stir the sodium lactate, which I don't have. When lye and water are 105, add the lye water to the oil, and then we're going to blend it until a very thin trace, and then we're going to add the buttermilk and the essential oil, and we're going to whisk it with a whisk. Okay, so first thing I need to do is get my other bowl right here. I'm going to move this book out of the way because I don't want to splatter on it. So we'll put it here carefully. And we'll get started. I put my gloves on. I've got my goggles on. Da-da-da. I was out of commission for about 2 weeks. I'm still kind of not 100%. But I had a really bad cold. So, but now I've got my voice back, so I figured I wanted to do this soap. So we're going to get started. I'm going to strain this lye. Because like I said, it had little bits. We don't want little bits floating around. There's not a lot of little bits, but enough. So, there's that. I've got my buttermilk here. I've got my essential oils for the next step, along with my whisk. And so we'll blend this, burping our blender here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Now I'm using my olive oil is cold pressed. What does the label say? It's a darker olive oil. Extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. So it's a darker one. Hence the dark green. So we'll see what it lightens up to, if at all. But this may take a while to get to light trace. Yeah, we're not even there yet. So let me put you on pause until we get to light trace. If I can see. Pause. Alright, so I've been blending this for several minutes. It does coat my blender. I have a feeling because I didn't use sodium lactate, maybe that's slowing down my getting to like a full light trace, but I've been blending and blending and blending, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it good. So our next step is to pour in the buttermilk and our fragrance, our essential oils, and then whisk them. So I'm going to pour in my buttermilk, and I'm actually going to scrape all that goodness in there. So there's that. And the essential oils. And I'm not one that usually blends oil, but this lavender and peppermint smell really lovely, I must say. So there's that. And whisk together. Ooh. And the buttermilk is lightening up this green a bit. If you use a lighter olive oil, it will look more light and creamy white probably. But since mine is the darker olive oil, that's why the color is as it is. Oh, it smells so good. I'm going to keep stirring here and bring these molds over a little closer. I still have to pour off in color. Let me put that there. Bring my little bowl over, and we're going to pour about half or just under in there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So I think we're well blended here with the buttermilk and essential oil. So we're going to pour off about that much. And add in our madder root into this half. And we'll scrape that all in there. Okay. And that I'm going to blend with my stick blender just to get it fully incorporated. Lower my goggles again. But look at that color. I'm just trying to burp out my blender. I think we're good there. Let me pop this off. And we'll get this and scrape it. And then it says to pour into the uncolored using a circular, from up high, a circular motion to pour into the uncolored soap. So bring that over. Hoping you can see all this. Yeah. So I'm going to take my whisker out because we're done with that now. So we're gonna go from a little up high and pour. And then we'll bring it back down a little lower and scrape it out. Oop. Sorry if you can't see me. I'm just trying to get every little bit out. Kind of a brownish color. And then she said to drag the, let's see, I don't have my glasses on. Stir the swirled batter one time with a spatula. Do not overmix the swirl. So, one time. Okay. So, actually, I should get that down in there. Even though I'm going to pour again. All right, so now we're ready to pour into the molds. Set that off. It says not to move your bowl too much and just to pour into the mold. So I'm going to start here. And I can tell it's thickening up. Wow. Hopefully I can get this poured. Oop. Okay. Hopefully they tamp down and don't overflow the cavity. Oop. Not the neatest. All right, so I do have extra soap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of tap this down like so. And then I'll set this here, and I'm going to bring over my flower mold, which I think I only need one. So we'll do some of these in the flower mold, and might need some help getting it out because it is thickening. So we'll scrape as we go into the flower molds. Whoop. Now I'm going to have these in my subscription boxes. These will be in the ones that send out the end of June. So if you haven't renewed your subscription yet, I encourage you to do so, because I'll be trying some different soaps from her book with the different milks, and so they will go into the subscription boxes. So I'm just seeing here, whoops, if I need, I don't think I need another mold. I think I can maybe top these off. So they'll have quite a texture on the bottom of these bars. And I'm going to shake down the board with the mold, so that'll even things out too. So I got 12 of the oval and six of these flowers out of that batch. Clean that off. I got classical guitar music playing upstairs. Trying to get the dogs calmed down. Okay, so we're just going to kind of bang this a little. I'm a little over on some of them, but that's okay. They'll look pretty on the bottom. So, last thing is to spray them with alcohol over the next 90 minutes so that it prevents or helps to prevent soda ash from forming. If they do get ashy, you can always steam them off or run them under a faucet to get that ash off. But it's aesthetic. It doesn't hurt the, oops, I need to get some more alcohol in my spritzer. Anyway, it doesn't hurt the functionality of the soaps any. So there we go. And like I said, she said to wait 48 hours. I'm going to check them again after 24 anyway, because they seem to be thickening and setting up right now. So anyway, I'm going to check them after 24. But when I come back to do the unmolding, like I said, I will tell you how long they actually sat in the mold, since I'm not using sodium lactate. So I'm trying to tidy up my dishes. I will let sit for 24 hours, and then I'll wash those by hand. And I'm going to take the strainer upstairs now, though, and rinse that out. So, but anyway, here we go. Jiggle, jiggle. See, it's setting up so nicely already. So I'll keep spritzing these, and like I said, we'll come back. I'll let you know how long it's been when we're ready to pop them out of the mold. But we'll do a little zoom in so you can see the color. It's really a unique color blend. Be interesting to see how they cure, especially since I use the darker olive oil. So anyway, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and it's been 2 days in the mold. You can see this has lightened considerably. So I think we might actually eventually lighten to a light pink color. I'm wearing my gloves just because it's not a really hard bar, and I think that's naturally because I did not use the sodium lactate that she calls for in her recipe, but they will harden over time. But a nice soft bar, soft and smooth meaning. We'll get to unmolding the flower shaped ones here too. But it smells beautiful. I love the blend of the lavender and the peppermint. Very pretty. So we'll unmold this other oval soap mold. We'll get on, like I said, to the flower. I'll leave these ones upright so we can see the nice swirls of color on the top. I kind of can't wait to see the flower ones, to see what they look like. But it's very pretty color. There. I like this one. Look at the swirls in this one. Very cool. So there's that. Now we'll get to unmolding the flower mold. Pressing up gently from the bottom. Isn't that pretty? Just a beautiful, beautiful soap. As I said, these will go into subscription boxes. And I think I'll relist my grab bags as well over on Etsy now. They were sold out for a while, but we'll relist those, and in later in June these will be in the grab bags and subscription boxes after they've cured. So, but really pretty. And I plan on doing more of the soaps from the Milk Soaps book. I might do one a month. That's so pretty. Isn't that nice? Yeah, I might do one a month. Here, we'll put these on top and we'll do a flyby. Just to give my subscribers, you know, a different soap every month from that book. And when I can, I'll even give the recipe again. Again, this is from the Milk Soaps from Anne-Marie from Brambleberry. And it looks just gorgeous. Instead of taking you down and doing a flyby, I'll bring the soap to you here. But I do appreciate you watching. And I hope you liked this video showing this buttermilk soap. Making my own buttermilk. So take care. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll be notified whenever a new video pops up. And follow us over on Facebook and Instagram at Dirty Booty Soaps. So for now, thanks again, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye for now.